Growing on YouTube in 2024 is not easy if you don't know how to play the YouTube game. With raw unedited videos like these getting tens of thousands of views, and videos like these that would blow up in the past that are now getting barely hundreds of views, it makes you think, has the YouTube algorithm changed? Do I need to change my niche to succeed? And with everyone and their mom wanting to be Imangaji famous, how do I stand out? Well, after growing 40 plus YouTube channels and getting millions of views for my clients, I've discovered the simple 9-step formula to growing a successful YouTube channel in 2024. I've divided these steps into 3 phases, but the key here is to follow all 9 steps, because if you miss even one of them, the whole chain falls apart. And it all starts with understanding how YouTube actually works. You see, most people play the YouTube game wrong. Imagine going to the gym for the first time. You've never lifted weights before in your life, and the last time you exercised was when your car broke down and you had to walk back home. You enter the gym and see all these buff dudes flexing their biceps, doing their best C-bomb impression. You kind of feel motivated, but also super intimidated. And then this baddie catches your attention. This smoking hot blonde doing hip thrusts near the dumbbell rack. Your Sigma male instincts kick in. This is your time to shine. This is your time to impress the girl, grab the spotlight, and show these gym douches who the real top G is. You approach the dumbbell rack, you set your sights on the heaviest dumbbell in the gym, you try to pick that up, like that's even happening. And you fall flat on your face and embarrass yourself. And the worst part, she wasn't even looking at you in the first place. This is the trap that so many small channels fall into when they first start. They try to compete against the biggest creators on YouTube who have been in the space for years. It's like trying to beat Magnus Carlsen, the world chess champion at chess, while you're blindfolded. It's going to be practically impossible. So unless you're some kind of YouTube genius or have many years of content experience, you're never going to beat these big creators in your first couple videos that you post. And that's why it's important that you know how to rig the game in your favor. And the very first step to do that is to find your fast lane. And by fast lane, I don't mean that you need to niche down to either health, wealth, or relationships as your niche and stick to it. And I'm not going to make you do some silly exercise where you draw 4 concentric circles and call it, find your ikigai or whatever. Because the reality is, the game has changed, and if you're running an educational channel, you must go deeper than giving service level advice. You see, with over 2 million plus videos being uploaded on YouTube every single day, you need a power boost that sets you apart from other creators in your niche. And this power boost is what I call finding your fast lane. And really, if you want to find your fast lane, you need to figure out these 2 things. Number 1, you have to figure out your sub niche. You have one of 2 choices. You can go really broad and target a large section of the market, but the audience that you attract will be of lower value. You'll only be able to charge them $19 for your info product. But if you go very specific and target a very specific sub niche of the market, so for example, if you're in the fitness space and you narrow down to talking about fitness for dads over the age of 30, then you'll be able to attract a higher quality audience in this very specific sub niche. You may not get as many views, but actually that's totally fine, because what you want is a high quality viewer, a high quality audience, rather than just going as broad as possible. So for example, one way that I'm doing that in the YouTube space is that I don't just talk about YouTube growth in general. If you watch out of my videos, I actually narrow down to YouTube script writing specifically. I have tons of videos talking specifically about how to write a great YouTube script, because I myself run a YouTube script writing agency. Basically, we go in and help other business owners write their video scripts, so that way they don't have to worry about spending hours and hours refining their script. What we do is we come in and help with that. So because I see that there are many channels in the YouTube growth niche just talking about everything under the sun for YouTube growth, so that's ideation, editing, scripting, I decided I'm just going to specialize in one thing and only talk about script writing for the most part. And that way I can build a targeted audience of people who are interested in YouTube script writing, and as a result, people who will be interested in my service or whatever products that I'm selling. And this is not to say that you should put yourself in a small box all of the time, but having a really targeted sub niche gives you 2 main benefits. Number 1, the YouTube algorithm will favor channels with a clear focus, as it can more accurately predict what viewers may like. So for example, if you want to make money online content, let's say, and you post a video about the top 10 dropshipping products for 2024, you'll likely attract an audience of people who are interested in dropshipping. But if your next video about how to make money online is about the best way to get clients for your SMMA, your social media agency, 80% of the audience from the dropshipping video will probably not watch it, and you'll end up sending mixed signals to the algorithm, and this will kill your channel's growth. So if you want to create make money online content, it is actually better that you either niche down to either dropshipping or SMMA and talk exclusively about that sub niche, right? And within dropshipping, you can niche down even more. Instead of talking about how you can ship products from AliExpress and sell that to people, if you niche down even more, you can talk specifically about branded dropshipping. You can talk specifically about e-commerce. And if you're in SMMA, you don't have to talk about how you can start all of these social media marketing agencies for med spas, for chiropractors. You can niche down to a specific sector of people who want social media marketing content for, let's say, med spas, and you only talk about med spas and how to grow a med spa. And the the second benefit of having a targeted sub-niche is that when you have a clear sub-niche, it's easy to plan and produce content that appeals directly to a specific group of viewers who are interested in that topic. So these viewers are more likely to become loyal subscribers who regularly watch and engage with your content. Plus, if you regularly produce content in a specific area, you'll be able to come off as an authority. If you post enough videos, you'll have 1,000 true fans instead of a million people who don't really know you. Your goal of YouTube shouldn't be to get a million subscribers, right? A million subscribers seems nice, but there are a lot of YouTube channels who have a million subscribers but don't really have a loyal fan base. What you really want is to have 1,000 true fans. You want to be super duper known well. You don't actually want to be well known and have a million subscribers. You want to be known well. I think this is super important when you really think about dialing in your YouTube audience. And everything that I'm talking about ties directly into the second part of finding your fast lane, and that is figuring out your audience profile. To really define your audience profile, you need to very clearly understand your target viewers' dreams, desires, specific pain points, what keeps them up at night, and what problems they're struggling with. Understanding your audience profile will literally dictate everything that you do with your channel, starting from the topics that you talk about, the way that you write your scripts, the exact words that you're using, your editing style, and literally your thumbnail style too. And the reason most creators fail to stand out in their niche is because they never take the time to figure out their audience profile, and they end up parroting the same information as everyone else. They end up saying, the exact same content as what everyone else is saying. And just the other day, I was reading this famous book titled Never Split the Difference, where a former FBI hostage negotiator, Chris Voss, explains how showing a deep understanding of another person's pain points, problems, and fears helps build a connection with them and makes them trust you more. So that literally means if you're a business owner and you understand your ideal audience profile better, that makes the viewer think that you are directly speaking to them. And if you really directly speak to their pain points, their fears, and their dreams, they are more likely to trust you because you are able to articulate why they should listen to you. And this also makes them more likely to believe that you have the exact solution that they're looking for. And the result, more views, leads, more clients, and more money. So here comes the actionable bits, right? These are the two methods to figure out your audience profile. Number one is I call this the spy. In this method, you want to literally enter your ideal viewer's world as a spy. What kind of content do they consume? What platforms do they hang out on? What are their views on trending topics? And if you're in the fitness niche, you can visit the comment section of similar channels and see what the audience is talking about. You can also read articles on Quora to better understand their problems and pain points. And if you want to go full 007, take a deep dive in the r/fitness subreddit. And yes, this method will get you some super juicy insights about your audience profile, but it can be time consuming. So if you're short on time and you want a faster alternative, you can use these 5 ChatGPT prompts that will get 80% of your research done in 5 minutes. You can subscribe to the newsletter to get it, and I'll send it over to you. And there you have it. Now you have all the ammo that you need to make content that will attract a loyal audience and position you as an expert in your niche. But figuring out your fast lane is just the first piece of the puzzle, and without nailing this next step, your channel will be as dead as this guy's dating life. Imagine your friend Josh invites you to a party, but when you get there, he's nowhere to be found. So to avoid looking socially awkward, you walk up to the first person you see and introduce yourself. Hey Brian, my name's NPC1 and I'm a friend of Josh. And then you walk up to the next person. Hey Brian, my name's NPC2 and I'm a friend of Josh. And then there's this other dude who comes up to you and says, yo Brian, how's your day going? You want to do some cocaine? You see how that immediately stands out? Let me tell you this, because YouTube in 2024 is filled with NPCs giving away the same information in the name of quote-unquote value. It's like attending a college lecture where the professor just reads out whatever's written in the textbook word for word. It's super duper boring, no one wants to watch it, and that kind of content will absolutely get 0 views. But to build a loyal audience that's refreshing their feed 24/7 and waiting for your next upload, you need to form a genuine connection with your audience. And to do that, you need to stand out with your golden edge. Let me explain what this golden edge is. Your golden edge is an unfair advantage that you have as a creator. Let me ask you a simple question. What are the 3 things that come to your mind when you see this creator? What about this creator? Or this one? Now, while all of them have their own special qualities, let me show you their golden edge that makes them stand out from the thousands of business and education channels on YouTube. You see, Dan's content offers a fresh perspective on personal development, entrepreneurship, and productivity. And this makes his content connect with a wider audience while also being authentic. This is because Dan knows how to tie in his interests like spirituality and philosophy into topics from business and building a personal brand. Similarly, Alex Hormozi has built and scaled multiple successful businesses to 7 and 8 figures. He's also a best-selling author and has a net worth of over $100 million. So when this guy speaks, you listen because he's not talking out of his ass. So his credentials are his golden edge. But Brian, I don't have a $100 million net worth like Hormozi and I'm not as smart as Dan. Now take a look at this guy. While Dakota is an awesome writer and has an excellent understanding of social media growth, the biggest thing his audience connect to is his unique sense of humor and sometimes out of line political views. So in other words, your golden edge is anything that makes you stand out, and not identifying it and figuring out what it is the one thing that's keeping your channel from growing. growing. I'm gonna say this one more time. If you don't figure out your golden edge, you will be saying the same thing as everyone else is saying. You can effectively copy paste someone else's YouTube script and record it, and your video will not go viral. It is as simple as that. So finding your golden edge is just that important. So how exactly do you find your golden edge? Just do this. Open up a Google Doc and bring down the things that you've done over the last 2 years. This is called the 2-year test. I got this from Nicholas Cole from Ship30. And in the Google Doc, you want to answer these questions. Number 1, what interesting topics did you learn? Maybe you learned new skills like playing the guitar. Maybe you built your own business from scratch. Number 2, you want to ask yourself, what life-changing experiences did you have? Did you go through a breakup? Did you quit your job? Or did you start a new one? And number 3, what obstacles did you overcome in this journey? And what advice would you give to your former self? Most people tend to think that their ideas and stories are not interesting enough. But when you actually put a conscious effort to write it down all on paper, you start to see that you are an expert in the eyes of a younger version of you from 2 years ago. Also, if after doing this exercise, you still can't figure out your golden edge, what you are lacking in credentials, you can actually make up with time. Let me explain that. For example, when Mr. Beast first started out, he didn't have the budget to give away $500,000 or $100,000 for a challenge. But what he had was a lot of time because he was a young guy, he was just out of college. He had a lot of his time that he could spend. So instead, his early content is creating videos like these that made him stand out from his competition, right? He would say Logan Paul 100,000 times. He would count from 1 to like a million or whatever. And today, he's able to spend far more money on his content than anybody else on YouTube. And that is now his unique edge because he's able to create these big challenge videos that are super entertaining where there's large cash prizes and he can pay a lot of money to build these large sets. So if you're a complete beginner, don't try to fake it till you make it and act like a pro. What you want to do instead is document your journey, spend your own time, and share what you're learning and what problems you're facing. Just like Iman Gaji's early content when he first started out. He had a bunch of time and he was learning, and that was his main content, and many people loved him from there. So figure out whether you have time or whether you have money to spend and what makes you unique. That will be your golden edge, and you want to make your whole personal brand around that. So now that you know what your golden edge is, we can now move on to the next step, which is often considered the most important part of a YouTube video. In fact, most creators spend weeks, if not months, on this very step.
I can't say it enough. Like, I'll be blue in the face saying this until I think the day I die. Is like, the idea is more important than everything.
The idea is so freaking important. Like, you could theoretically, most YouTubers watching this, you could pull triple the views with half the work if you just had better ideas. Like, no joke, it's that extreme.
Without a great idea, none of the steps after these matter, because if the core concept of your video is shit, everything else is just like trying to put lipstick on a pig. Now, you might be saying, okay, Brian, I've heard it a million times. I get it. Ideas king, but how do I come up with great ideas? Well, the first and easiest way to come up with banger ideas is to see what's already working in your niche and make it better. For example, if you make content about running Facebook ads, look at what the top creators in the space are already doing, sort their videos by most popular, and reverse engineer what made them successful. So you really want to ask yourself when you're looking at these most popular videos, what type of creative format do they use? What emotion does the title and thumbnail bring out? And what made the hook effective? One thing that Chase Chappelle did really well in this video titled The New Way to Run Facebook Ads is he saw that Ben Heath also had a video that performed really well. So he took inspiration from what was working in his niche and he applied it to his exact same video, but did a different kind of execution. So he improved on what was already existing in his niche. And the result is that he got over 100K views on a Facebook ads video. If he has a product or he has a service, it would easily generate 6 figures in revenue. Another way that you want to find killer ideas is to not just look within your niche, you also want to look at adjacent niches and find outlier videos that are performing better than average. So for example, if I'm in the Facebook ads niche, right, we can look at niches like dropshipping, e-commerce, lead generation to find these outliers. Because dropshipping, lead generation, or cold email are all considered adjacent niches to Facebook, because Facebook ads is one way to get leads, is also one way to get sales for your e-commerce store or for your agency or your consulting business. And cold email is also a way to get new clients and also to get sales. So you would consider Facebook ads and cold emails adjacent niches. Other adjacent niches would be, say, fitness and masculinity, right? These two are relatively similar and they have the same target audience. And if you were to really think about other adjacent niches, it would be dropshipping and Amazon FBA. Both are targeting the make money online space and it's more targeted towards beginners. Those videos are something that people who want to start Amazon FBA or people who want to start dropshipping, they are looking for a new business opportunity. So you would also consider them adjacent niches. So after these couple examples, if you're still not sure about what's considered an adjacent niche, you can probably just ask ChatGPT what's an adjacent niche to whatever niche you're in. So Facebook ads, ask it to give you 10 different options for what might be similar in niche. And from there, you can do research on these other parts of YouTube. So for example, this Jordan Bound video got 3.3 million views. It was a full-length dropshipping course, 18 plus hours. And he did this really well in the dropshipping niche, very easily gotten at least 7 figures in revenue just from one video. And if you look at this other Joe Kaplan video, who is in the SMMA niche, SMMA is a way to make money online. Dropshipping is also a way to make money online. They are selling business opportunities. So you would also consider them adjacent in niches. And Joe Kaplan also decided to model the same video and have a full-length course. He posted a 12-hour course, and that video also ended up getting hundreds of thousands of views, which is pretty good for a super long video in terms of the way that he executed it. He got a bunch of people, did a bunch of live calls, and he stitched those live calls together. So it's actually relatively low effort for him to create something like that. But also, that video still managed to get tons of views and generated lots of revenue from there. And that's an example of looking at adjacent niches to see what's working there, and then you can apply it for your own content. And to take this one step further, you can also look at bigger niches where there are more videos produced every day. So when I say looking at bigger niches, that means if you're in the business niche, you can look at the productivity niche, you can look at the fitness niche, or you can look at the entertainment niche, where the total addressable market is much larger than just within the small space in the business niche. And the reason why this works so well is because if a video is performing well in a much more challenging market, and you apply the same concepts from that video to your smaller niche, you are almost guaranteed a killer idea. Because the way that I like to think about it is like bringing a gun to a knife fight, right? A gun would be like a really killer idea that's performing really well in a very challenging market. So one example would be this guy, TJL Training, who made this video, brutally honest advice for basketball players. He actually got this idea from Alex Hormozi, who, you know, in the productivity, in the self-improvement niche, he made this video titled Brutally Honest Advice for Broke People. So he applied something that was working in the self-improvement niche, which is very competitive, but this video did really well, 593k views, and he applied it to his much smaller niche, which is in the basketball, and it was one of his better outliers, which is at 14k views for his very small channel. So that's actually pretty good. So if you want to come up with ideas, I need you to make a list of the top 100 performing videos in your niche, adjacent niches, and broader niches. And after you have these 100, you want to filter down to the top 10 ideas, and then from the top 10 ideas, you can pick one for your next video. And boom, just like that, you have a killer video idea. Because once you have so many ideas and you really filter down to the ones that you really like, and that's how you know the next 1 to 2 ideas that you pick for your next video has the potential to really go viral and generate you millions of dollars in revenue. Now, while these methods will help you come up with dozens of winning ideas, the real sauce is to apply your own twist and make your video specific to your niche and ideal viewer. So you really want to refer to your audience profile in determining whether the idea actually fits your niche and fits your audience. And that concludes phase 1. So just to recap, now you found your fast lane, figured out your golden edge, and have a list of killer ideas that will make your content stand out. But even if you come up with the best and most unique video ideas on the planet and you've got more risk than mad drive, everything up to this point is completely useless if you miss this next step. You see, back in school, there was a dude in class named Ethan who was low-key funny and kinda good in academics. But Ethan was fat as fuck and looked like a total nerd. He had a huge crush on this chick, Hannah, but Hannah avoided him as hard as Marvel fans try to avoid spoilers. Now, most guys would give up at this point, but not Ethan. You see, during the whole 3 months of summer vacation, Ethan went deep into his training arc phase. Dude got absolutely jacked, switched his glasses for lenses, and got rid of his yee ass haircut. And when schools reopened in June, the roles had reversed, and Hannah was the one chasing Ethan like crazy. Dude still had the same weird sense of humor, same personality, same average marks, but now he looked like an anime character instead of a Discord mod. So, more of the story, no matter what anyone says, packaging matters. You might have the best content on the planet, but if your packaging is meh, audience will just shit on your thumbnail and ignore your videos. This is why big creators spend thousands of dollars every month on split testing their titles and thumbnails. Now, I'm not asking you to rob a bank to get the funds for split testing or spend your entire weekend playing around in Photoshop so that you can get 15 variations for one video. But here are 2 simple hacks that will drastically improve your packaging, starting with the thumbnail. The first thing that the viewer notices even before clicking on your video is the thumbnail. But when most people make their thumbnails, this is their thought process. What background color should I use? Blue looks good. Alright, oh, I've heard putting a face on the thumbnail works. Well, then I'll put my face on it. That kind of looks good, maybe. And let's add some icons and text to make it spicy. Oh yeah, let's do it. Kind of looks good. Maybe. But the thing that most beginners get wrong is that a good thumbnail is not necessarily about the design. The top YouTube strategist Patty Galloway puts it this way.
Thumbnail to me is at least 80, maybe 90% the psychology of the click, and then maybe 10-20% the actual design of the thumbnail.
As humans, our brains hate unfinished stories and unanswered questions. So the first goal of a killer thumbnail is to tap into this default setting of our brain and create what I call a curiosity gap. So what a curiosity gap means is that it's the gap between what the viewer knows and what he doesn't know. So let me give you an example. Take a look at this Ryan Trahan thumbnail. The first thing you see is do not sleep in room 13. And then you see that he's in room 13. And this immediately makes you question what happens if you sleep in room 13? What happens next to Ryan? And who is that person in the background? All these unanswered questions make you curious and you are forced to click. So you absolutely want to create a curiosity gap in all of your thumbnails. Every single great thumbnail out there has a curiosity gap. So now to the actionable bits. Here are 3 thumbnail formats that you can use to create a curiosity gap in your next video so that you can get people to actually click and watch. Number 1, a story thumbnail. A story thumbnail sets up an interesting scenario and makes the viewer question, I wonder what happens next. So for example, when you see this thumbnail, you immediately start asking, what did he reply? What happened after that? And who else did he DM? And if you're a viewer, you are forced to click to find out these answers. And number 2 is the result thumbnail. A result thumbnail shows the dream outcome of the viewer and makes them question, how did he do it? Can I do it too? And is it easy? And the result thumbnail is one of the more famous thumbnails within the business niche because you want to show the viewer that you can get them a desired result. And so the bigger the desired result, the stronger the curiosity gap. But you don't want the desired result to be too big, because if it is too big, viewers won't be able to recognize it. And you can use different desired results in the thumbnail to attract different kinds of audiences too. So that's also something that you want to be conscious of. So if you use a stripe graph asset in your thumbnail, you will attract maybe a potentially beginner audience. But if you use certain terminologies inside your thumbnail, it will attract a potentially higher quality audience. For example, in this Alex Hormozi thumbnail, he puts LTV divided by CAC over here, which is, super in-depth business term. And if you actually understand what these terms are and you are high-level business, then you are more likely to click that specific video compared to a stripe graph thumbnail, which is currently more popular. Okay, on to the next one, a transformation thumbnail. So in the education space, transformation thumbnails are kind of similar to result thumbnails, but a transformation thumbnail will have a before state and an after state. And the story and process of going from point A to point B is what makes the viewer curious to click. So just to recap, the 3 types of thumbnails are the story thumbnail, the result thumbnail, and the transformation thumbnail. And all of these creates a big curiosity gap. But even with a strong curiosity gap, your thumbnail could still be useless if it doesn't capture the viewer's attention in the first place. Because when someone opens YouTube, they are immediately bombarded with hundreds of different thumbnails. And if you want to stand out in these sea of thumbnails, your thumbnail must act as a pattern interrupt. And once again, we want to do that by tapping into viewer psychology. So if you study our brains are naturally attracted to numbers and familiar elements. And if you're in the finance niche, you need to take advantage of this by using them in your thumbnails. So for example, if you're in the finance niche, there could be a transformation 0 to 1 million, or you could have the Robinhood portfolio as one of the backgrounds, or you could have a green graph going from the bottom left to the top right, which is similar to a price chart going from bottom left to the top right. You could also use a trading view chart with all of these candles too. So you want to use all of these familiar elements inside your thumbnail to catch the viewer's attention. And usually these elements will be very popular within your niche. And that's how you can come up with ideas for all of these different elements. Also, having emotional faces is another thing that we are naturally drawn to as a pattern interrupt. But you also really want to be careful when you're using these big emotional faces with these big expressions, because if you're a new creator and your audience isn't familiar with you, then it may not work as well. So if you're really just starting out, one of the best ways to grow on YouTube is to use a well-known person in your niche in the thumbnail. So for example, in this video that I scripted, Alex Hormozi's $100 million code email strategy, we use Alex Hormozi's face as a way to trend jack him. That way we can get more attention to our own YouTube videos. And within the video on a content level, we talk about how he grew his companies with code email. And this video we actually did for Instantly, which ended up getting 150,000 views and went crazy viral within the code email niche itself. And if we're going really specific and we're trying to measure if a thumbnail is good and will grab the viewer's attention, there's this thing called the 2-second test that I do with every single thumbnail that I make. So you want to flash your thumbnail to a friend or family member for 2 seconds and ask them, what did you see? And if in that 2-second time frame, they can predict what your video is about and feel compelled to watch just by seeing your thumbnail, you will have a killer thumbnail. Right? That means you know that the colors stand out, you know that the components are actually attractive, and you can immediately tell what the viewer is going to get from clicking the video. Okay, so that's literally everything that I know about making a killer thumbnail. So now let's talk about how to make a title that enhances this curiosity gap that is already made by the thumbnail. So YouTube titles expert Jake Thomas, who has spent thousands of hours studying titles and the psychology behind what makes people click, puts it this way.
And the 3, I'm calling them click-worthy emotions, are curiosity, fear, and desire.
So let's understand this by looking at some examples. So in this title, how to actually succeed with dropshipping, the word actually makes you curious. It makes you think that every other video on this topic is BS, and this video has the actual sauce that you're looking for. Plus, it appeals to the desire of the target audience to succeed with dropshipping. Specifically, if you were to ask why this video worked within the dropshipping niche, it's because there are tons of dropshipping videos out there that promise you that you'll make your first 10 to 20 to 30K a month, but they don't actually deliver on it. So when you really think about it, they want to actually grow their business. They actually want to grow their dropshipping store. So because of where the viewer and the niche was at, this video performed really well because of its really great timing. And another way to do this in your title is to directly call out your target audience. So this Ali Abdaal video, my honest advice to someone who wants financial freedom. So here, Ali Abdaal is directly targeting people with the desire to make more money. And the term honest advice makes them more curious. This video is also more authentic. Ali Abdaal is kind of freestyling it, which is in line with the authentic trend that's been happening all across YouTube. So a combination of all of those factors made for this video to perform really well and, was a massive outlier for Ali Abdaal. And another great way that you can build curiosity is to use lists in your title. So for example, 7 hidden apps in Microsoft 365 that will explode your productivity. There are a bunch of list videos or top 10 videos that perform really well because it feels more tangible and it will keep your viewers watching till the end to make sure that they don't miss any step. Plus, in this specific title too, the word hidden makes you feel like you're getting secret insider knowledge. So it becomes really tempting to click. Now, if you want to skip all of this psychology stuff and you want the simplest way to come up with titles, you want to actually model what's already working in your niche or broader niches and add your own spin to it. So for example, if you're in the fitness niche, you can take this title from the finance niche and reframe it as my honest advice to someone who wants to lose fat. And if you just think about it psychologically, that video can actually has the potential to perform really well. Another easy hack is to see titles that grab your attention whenever you're scrolling and save them in a Google Doc for inspiration. So if you want a swipe file of all of the best performing titles that I've used over the past 6 months, I actually put them into a list. I put them into a swipe file. You can get access to it by subscribing to the newsletter down below. I'll email it right to your inbox. All you need to do is subscribe and I'll send you weekly emails about how to grow your YouTube channel. And so that's everything that I know about having a great title and thumbnail so you can have great packaging. And yes, great packaging will get you views, but to turn these viewers into subscribers and build a following, this next step is super important. And let me explain this with the story about Coca-Cola. So back in 1985, Coca-Cola was losing market share due to the younger audience relating to more brands like Pepsi. Everyone wanted to drink Pepsi back in 1985, believe that or not. And to compete against Pepsi, Coke changed its classic formula and introduced the new Coke. The company thought that this was a genius move and they were confident that the new taste would help them connect better with the younger audience. But when the new Coke hit the market, it flopped just as bad as Disney's Little Mermaid remake. Long-time Coca-Cola drinkers were outraged. They were absolutely pissed, right? They all said, this isn't the drink I grew up with. This isn't the Coke I enjoyed at family picnics. The taste was completely different and it wasn't their old Coke anymore. It wasn't the Coke that they remembered. So long story short, the new Coke was a total disaster and Coca-Cola had to go back to its original formula. And thank God they went back to its original formula. If not, we wouldn't have Coke today. So now you're probably gonna ask me, cool story, Brian, but what does this have to do with growing my YouTube channel? Well, let me answer your question with another question. What's the first emotion that pops up when you see this image or this? Or how about this? You see, the number one thing that you need to build a loyal audience and guarantee long-term growth is a strong brand identity. And this is exactly why people hesitate to spend $50 on some knockoff sneakers from your local mall, but will not hesitate to drop $500 on a pair of Air Jordans without a second thought. On YouTube, brand is everything. As Alex Hormozi explains, a brand is more than just a logo or symbol. It's about creating a strong, authentic identity that resonates with your audience. And in terms of YouTube, it's a certain outcome or feeling that the audience connects with your channel. And it's the same reason why Emma Chamberlain can have some random thumbnail and post once a year, still get millions of views. It's because she has built such familiarity with her audience, because she has such strong branding. Everyone knows her as the authentic OG YouTube girly. Now imagine if she went Mr. Beast style and started giving thousands of dollars away in her videos. It probably flopped just as bad as the new Coke. It's not like her, it's not on brand, so she would never make a video like that. So how do you build a strong brand identity that's authentic and helps you build a genuine connection with your audience? Well, it comes down to the CIA framework, and let me explain what this is. C stands for content. So people love familiarity and knowing what to expect from your channel. When you get a notification that Iman Gaji has uploaded a video, you have certain expectations about the editing style, the audio quality, and overall production of the video. Now imagine if you click on the video and Iman is shouting at the camera and there are explosions everywhere. You'd probably click off faster than Iman dropped out of high school. Similarly, imagine Mr. Beast made a 30-minute long talking head video with no editing. Or the little Timmies in his audience would be like, what the fuck is going on, right? Where's the Feastables? Where's all the screaming? Where's the explosions? Where's the challenge video? It will look super odd and they think it's an apology video, which might be warranted anytime now. So when you're deciding your brand identity, you must be clear about these 3 things. What will be your editing style? Will it be hyper edited like Mr. Beast?
This is a $1 billion super yacht.
Will it have the slick Iman style?
Offense investing will get your first 6 or 7 figures.
Will it be raw and unedited like Sam Sulek?
There we go.
Or something in between. You kind of need to figure out what your editing style is first, and that will be part of your brand identity. Next, what about the backdrop, right? Would you do it in your room where it has low production and a more relatable feel, just like I am? Or would you need to get a studio? Would you need to get a super sick background? Would you need a really sick view? Also, what would be the ideal length of your video? Would you post a 30-minute whiteboard explainer like this guy, Charlie Morgan? Or will it be a 10-minute talking head video like this guy, Luke Alexander? Or will it be more of a podcast style like Alex Hormozi does recently? You want to answer all these questions and write it down in a Google Doc so that you can get clear about your content style and your brand feel. And once you've decided on that, you want to be consistent in your branding. So I in CIA stands for insights. Viewers come to your channel because they trust your opinions and insights. So if one day you're preaching about starting an SMMA and the next day you're calling SMMA a scam, your audience kind of gets confused and loses trust in you. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean you can't evolve or change your opinion, because after all, it's natural to grow and learn. But when you do shift your stance, it's important to explain why. When you have a total shift in perspective, you really need to explain why to your audience so that they can kind of follow you. Because imagine if Andrew Tate suddenly turned into a feminist tomorrow, or Imangaji started telling you to go back to school. You probably think that they're being held hostage or something.
The Matrix has attacked me.
But whenever you're putting out your insights on your channel, you need to be clear about what your core values are. What are your views on hot topics in your niche that's widely talked about? What are the main content topics viewers can expect from your channel? What is your speaking tonality, right? Do you come off as more direct and assertive like this guy?
The majority of millionaires are made in real estate.
Or friendly and enthusiastic like this guy, Ali Abdal?
Hey friends, welcome back to the channel.
You don't want to confuse your viewer, because confused people don't subscribe to your channel and they don't buy products from you. So I stands for insights, and the last A in CIA stands for aesthetics. And this is often overlooked by most people who create YouTube videos. Take a look at this chart. You see certain colors evoke certain feelings. For example, the color red is known to be bold, attention grabbing, and creates a sense of urgency. The color blue is calming and trustworthy. Yellow is vibrant and uplifting. You need to consider this when deciding the color scheme of your thumbnails and the overall vibe of your video. So specific examples that YouTubers do this really well is, for example, Dan Ko. He uses the colors black, gray, and white for a more minimalistic and clean aesthetic, kind of like a minimalism kind of vibe he's going for. His videos have neutral backgrounds and the overall vibe is calm, reflective, and thoughtful, just like how he is. But if you were to look at Ali Abdal's channel, on the other hand, he has a more personal and welcoming vibe with cozy settings like his home office, bookshelves, plants, really aesthetic lights. So you really want to think about what vibe do you want your channel to give off? Will it be friendly and approachable, or high energy and entertaining, or will it be more stoic and more black and white? And then afterwards, you want to ask yourself, what about the color scheme of your thumbnails? Should it be bright and vibrant, or should it be more calm and professional, right? It's not to say one is better than the other. It's according to your brand identity that you want to portray. How about your setup and background, right? A studio setup like Imangaji, or an outdoor setting like Arena Doors, right? Once again, no right or wrong answer. It just depends on what you want your brand feel to be. So here's a recap of everything that you want to consider in your brand identity. Number one, what will be your editing style? What microphone will you use? What's your ideal video length? What's your core values and views? What's your tonality? What core content topics you want to talk about? What's your thumbnail color scheme? And what's your background and aesthetic? You need to answer all of these questions, and from there, you will have consistent branding. Okay, up next, we have the most important yet the most overlooked step to this whole formula. See, over the last year, I've seen plenty of up and coming YouTubers fail and give up because they never took this step seriously. And I can tell you, after getting millions of views for my clients across multiple different niches, 40 plus niches, this is by far the most impactful piece of this whole puzzle. Think about it like this. Imagine walking into a 5-star restaurant and the ambience is perfect, the customer service is on point, and everything is spotless. But when you finally take a bite of the food,
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
no matter how great everything else is, if the main attraction, the food, leaves a bad taste in your mouth, you're unlikely to return. You're probably not going to come back. So you might have the best camera, the most eye-catching thumbnails, and the best setup. But if the core content of your video isn't engaging, informative, or entertaining, viewers will feel dissatisfied and never return to your channel. And the only way to make sure that viewers come back over and over again is to make your videos actionable, easy to consume. You want to show your personality. You want to give the viewers exactly what they want and cater to a new audience and your existing audience at the same time. And to do all of these, you absolutely need to script your videos. I have a full tutorial on how to write a great script on this channel. So right now I'll explain how to write a great script quickly so that you don't have to rewatch it. So your script has 3 main parts, and it all starts with writing a solid hook. And if I were to summarize what makes a great hook, your hook must do 2 things. Number 1, it's to validate the click. And number 2, you want to intrigue the viewer to watch the rest of the video. And to do this, your hook must be clear and engaging, and you want to use language that appeals to a wider audience. And these are 3 killer hooks that you can steal for your next video. These are my favorite hooks that I use to get 60 to 70% retention in the first 30 seconds. So number 1 is the rhetorical question hook. One example is, have you ever wondered what would happen if you cut out sugar from your diet for 30 days? So this evokes an emotion, right? It's a rhetorical question. I'm immediately curious and I'm hooked, and I want to watch the rest of the video to find out the answer to this question. But your question actually has to be rhetorical and has to be interesting. So that's a question hook. Number 2 would be the shocking statement. Right? So one example would be, you've been writing titles wrong this whole time. So kind of shocking. you're like, oh, well, what am I writing my titles wrong? You immediately ask, oh, where am I writing my titles wrong? So then you'd want to watch the rest of the video to find out the answer to this shocking statement. And number 3 is the storytelling hook. I think this is one of the more underrated ones, but if you can start with a really strong story, you'll get people invested in watching from start to finish. So if your hook can start something like, I went from $150,000 in debt to over $5 million in just 3 years. This is my story. So it's over there, you can see there's a big contrast, negative $150,000 to $5 million. So it's like over there, you can already see that there's a curiosity gap. People want to see how you did it so that they can do it for themselves. And after the hook, the rest of your intro must do 3 things. It must give context to the video, it must set the stakes, and it must establish the main payoff of the video. So you want to do these 3 things in your intro. And to do this, you want to list out what questions the viewer will have when they see your title and thumbnail. And when you see this title and thumbnail, you immediately come up with questions like, how do I know this works? Does it work for beginners? Will it work for me? And these questions need to be answered in your intro. So literally just answer these questions in your intro, and just like that, you've written your hook and your intro, which will make up your first 30 seconds. So now that you have a killer intro, it's time to write the body of your script. This is the section that decides whether the viewer actually finds the video valuable or not. And the best way to keep the viewer engaged is to insert subpoints. So when I say subpoints, I mean that each subpoint needs to reward the viewer and make them anticipate the next point. For example, if you were to look specifically at this video, we've broken down YouTube growth into a 9-step formula. So for every subpoint, you can use the why, what, how framework to keep the viewer hooked. So whenever you're explaining a single point, you need to explain why, as in why is this subpoint important and what the viewer has to lose or gain. What, as in what this subpoint is, and how, as in how to implement it within the next 24 hours. How is actually the most important thing, because you want to make sure that your content is actionable. And if the content is actionable, the viewer will come watch your video, implement it, get value from it, and then they'll come and watch your next video again. So this simple framework will make it 10 times easier to script out the body, and will save you hours of recording and editing that you'd waste if you were just to hit record and yap in front of the camera. So now after the body, we have the final part of the script where 97% of creators fumble and absolutely kill their channel's growth. And this ties directly into the next step that can potentially 10x your YouTube growth if applied properly. But first, I have a confession. The truth is, this video that you're watching right now was supposed to drop last week, but instead, here's what happened. You see, I was deep into working on the script for this project. Hours had passed by, my fingers were aching, and my head was about to explode. So I decided to take a short break. I heard a lot about this show called Stranger Things, you've probably heard of it, and thought I'd watch one episode to relax. Well, that was the plan, just one episode, right? At the start, it felt like just another boring show, but as the episode progressed, I got sucked deeper and deeper into the story. And by the end of the first episode, a boy had vanished and a girl with natural superpowers had appeared, and I had to find out what happened next. Every episode ended with some sort of cliffhanger, and before I knew it, I was completely lost in the world of Hawkins, Secret Labs, and the Upside Down. So my quote-unquote short break had turned into an all-day binge marathon. Perfect for a YouTuber who has to get their next video out. You see, the goal of the YouTube algorithm is actually simple. It's to keep viewers on the platform for as long as possible. Because if they have more people on the platform, YouTube can run more ads and they can make more money that way. But most new creators will absolutely kill their attention by recapping the video in the last 30 seconds or begging for likes and subscribers. Instead, if you're a small channel or you're Stranger Things, your goal is to use the last 30 seconds of your video or your episode to open a loop and redirect the viewer to another video on a topic related to your channel. So if you're like Stranger Things, you want to create an open loop or curiosity to get people to want to watch the next episode. So likewise, if you were to take your YouTube channel as a TV series, as a TV show, you can get people from one video to another episode on your channel. So that way you can get people to watch one video to another, to another, to another, until they've watched everything on your channel ideally. But here's the catch. When you're redirecting the viewer from one video to another, the videos do need to be related to each other. So for example, if you're in the fitness niche and your video is about the top 5 exercises to build an aesthetic physique, your outro could look like this. So these are the top 5 exercises to build that Toji physique. But all of this is useless if you don't know what you should eat to build muscle as fast as possible. And then from there, you can redirect them to your top 5 foods for building muscles video. Similarly, if you're a dropshipping channel and your video is about the best TikTok ad strategy for 2024, tell the viewer how learning this ad strategy is pointless if they don't know how to find winning products in the first place. So in other words, you want to create a reason for the viewer to go from the existing video that they're watching to watching another video on your channel. Because once you can get a yes from the viewer to watch another video on your channel, that's where you can really build trust with them. That's where you take up bandwidth, you take up attention in the viewer's minds. So in terms of call to actions at the end of your video, I think it's super important for you to call to action from one video to another. If you actually notice, in all of my scripts in this channel, every single video is doing a call to action to another video, except if you're watching the full script writing course, where it's a full in-depth course. If you make it to the end, you would have probably watched enough of me already. So to give you another example, I will show you how at the end of this video, I actually write this specific call to action. So you can wait to the end for that. So now that you have a banger script, you've just written the hook, the body, and the call to action to another video. All you need to do is get right in front of the camera and hit record. Or even easier, if you're a faceless channel, just do a voice recording. And just like that, you have a killer video. Job's finished, right? No. So making a killer video is only half the battle, because if your video doesn't reach the right audience, it's as good as charging your phone overnight and forgetting to turn on the charger. And to make your video reach the right audience, you need to know the right way to upload your video. Yes, there is actually a science to uploading your video. So if you were to look at my YouTube dashboard here, right, the most important things that you want to note when you are uploading a video is this, right? First of all, you want to look at your title, right? So when you upload your video, you want to have your title. And when you're uploading your video also, you want to make sure that the file name is the exact same name as your title, right? You don't want it to be this E12345678910, because you need your title, you need your file name to be same as your title. So that way you can change the metadata to tell the YouTube algorithm what audience that this video needs to find. So if you title the video full YouTube script writing course, then it's going to find an audience that are interested in YouTube script writing. So on the metadata level, right, that's looking at the file name, that's looking at the description, you really want to optimize all of that. So the file name of your video should be the video title. Another thing that you really want to take note of is your thumbnail. The name of your thumbnail should also be the video title. So when you upload your thumbnail, make sure that the video title is your thumbnail's name, right? And ideally, in this case, the thumbnail itself is something that the YouTube algorithm will look at to determine what audience to push it to. So it says script writing course, ideally 100% free. So it will push it to an audience who needs YouTube script writing, who wants to learn YouTube script writing. And then the next thing that you want to look at is in the description, you can also add the title of the video, right? And that way, it's another piece of the metadata that will tell YouTube what audience to push it to, right? So over here, you can have the title, and then afterwards, it's what links you want to direct your YouTube audience towards. And then over here, it is a simple description, right? It has a bunch of keywords that we have here, right? This one's not too complicated to write with. You can use ChatGPT to write some of it, or you can also write this manually, right? Full YouTube script writing course, right? YouTube script writing, YouTube videos, right? And that way, the YouTube algorithm can kind of tell, oh, okay, it's about YouTube growth, it's about YouTube script writing. And then the last thing that you want to look at is the end screen, right? So when you go to your end screen, you want to make sure that you are directing the viewer to the correct video, right? And over here, you can kind of select which video that you want. Over here, you can change the element to have it where you want the video to be at. You can have 2 videos over here, or you can just have one, nothing too complicated. And then you want to and then you kind of want to set based on the call to action that you scripted and that you recorded, where you actually want the video to pop up, that you can maximize the end screen click-through rate. So end screen click-through rate is something that I was mentioning that was really, really important to optimize inside your call to action. So over here, you also want to set this. But other than that, it's not too complicated to upload your video, but it is these small optimizations that can really make or break your video. It's really the difference between your video potentially never finding an audience versus really finding the actual audience that your video was made for. So small optimizations when you're uploading your video, super important here. Now, while steps 1 to 8 might get you views and subs, but to grow consistently on YouTube, you need to nail this final step. And frankly, 93% of small channels fail because they never take the time to truly understand and apply this step. So let's say you're playing Minesweeper for the first time. You have no idea about the rules or what the numbers on the screen mean. So you click on a tile, you get lucky. You click on another tile, you get lucky, you don't explode. You start feeling confident and you think you're gonna win, so you press another tile and boom, just like that, game over, explosion all over your face. You see, trying to grow on YouTube without studying your analytics is like trying to win a game of Minesweeper without knowing the rules. You can make great content, but if you don't understand your analytics, like who's watching, what they like, where they drop off, you're bound to hit a mine and lose. So now, if you're completely new to YouTube, you are going to do a speed run through all the key metrics to save you 10 years of learning in the next 3 minutes. So I'm literally going to speed run through explaining each metric, and so you know what each of these means when you look at your YouTube dashboard. So number 1, impressions. So impressions is the number of times that your video's thumbnail is displayed to potential viewers. So this could be through search result, on the homepage, or as a suggested video. Next is CTR. So CTR, or click-through rate, is the percentage of impressions that turn into a click. So a high CTR could mean that your title and thumbnail caught the viewer's attention and made them interested to click. Number 3, views. So if someone clicks on your video and immediately leaves, that doesn't actually count as a view in the eyes of YouTube. So if you were to count a view as a view, the viewer must watch at least 30 seconds of your video. So for this, you need to have a really solid hook, which is something that we went through earlier. Next, viewer retention. So this is a famous retention graph you can find on your YouTube dashboard, which is a percentage representing the number of people still watching your video at any given timestamp. So for example, example, this retention graph shows that 60% of viewers clicked off within the first 30 seconds, aka the hook is really weak. So to improve your 30-second retention, you want to have a really strong hook. Next is AVD, or average view duration. So AVD measures the average length of time viewers spend watching a video, nothing too complicated. So an AVD of 65%, which means that viewers watch 65% of your video, which is pretty good. So next, watch time. So to calculate watch time, you just take the AVD, the average view duration, multiplied by the number of views. So YouTube's goal is to keep viewers on the platform for as long as possible so that YouTube can run more ads and make more AdSense. Therefore, the YouTube algorithm heavily considers the watch time a video has when suggesting it to users. Even YouTube's latest functionality that has a really big impact is the thumbnail test. So you think that thumbnail test, they look at the click-through rate of the video, but actually to measure if a thumbnail test has gone really well, YouTube looks at the watch time of each test. And the thumbnail that brings about the largest percentage of watch time, that is considered the winner. And that's how you know how important watch time is to the YouTube algorithm. And now if you were to look at all of these metrics, and you're probably gonna ask me, what is actually the most important metric? Okay, so if you're really trying to grow your YouTube channel from first principles, the most important metrics that you want to look at is the click-through rate and the average view duration. These are the two most important things that you want to optimize for. So click-through rate just means how many percentage of people look at your thumbnail and click into watching the video. So first of all, you need to get the click. You need to attract the click from the viewer. And if your click-through rate is good and your average view duration is good, that means how long do people stay and watch your video for. So if you can maximize the number of clicks and then you can maximize how long people watch, that's how you know that your video has the highest chance of going viral. So really, these are the two holy grail metrics that you want to focus on when you are making videos. Everything else is kind of fluff. Retention is, I don't think, that important. Looking at the number of views is nice, but views is also kind of a problematic metric. You also want to look at the views in the context of your niche, but all of that's a little too complicated. Really, if you just want to optimize your content, it is maximizing the click-through rate and maximizing the average view duration. Don't overcomplicate it, keep it simple. And if video by video, you make these small 1% adjustments, making your thumbnail a little bit better, increasing the click-through rate of your video. If you make the average view duration, you improve the retention of your video so that people watch longer and longer every single video. By the time you've posted your 50th video or your 100th video, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that you will actually really grow your channel and make sure that every single video is better than the other. Because over time, if you really think about optimizing all of these things, title and thumbnail, your click-through rate will improve. And if your hooks are better, your script is better, your production value is better, your lighting is better, the way that you edit is a lot better, people will watch for longer and people will want to click on your video. And growing on YouTube is really as simple as that. It's not any of this complicated SEO optimization, tag optimization, any of these small things. Increase these two metrics and your YouTube channel will grow and you will increase your revenue, you will grow your business with YouTube. It is really that simple. No one really explains it that way, but it's really that simple. Doesn't matter what algorithm changes there are. You just want to focus on these two metrics. That is it. And that is it. That is how you grow a YouTube channel in 2024. Remember how I mentioned that one of the most important parts of a really great YouTube video is to make a killer script? Well, I actually filmed a 1.5 hour YouTube script writing course, literally explaining everything that you need to know about how to write a viral script. This is one of my best resources to this day, and I don't see anyone else talking about what I talked about in that specific video. It is really that good. So if you want to learn how to write a really great YouTube script, click on this video over here. Thanks for watching to the end. If you watch from start to finish, you're the absolute GOAT. You're my favorite guy, and I'll see you in the next video.